afternoon, race fans. This is Dr. K from Omaha, Nebraska, with the third installment of this Turf Racing is Good For You series, promoting the Go for the Gold book. Let's talk today about DRF's Formulator. Now, I know a lot of you buy the DRF's paper edition. Some of you use Brisnet. Some of you use other products that are out there. But I'm going to tell you why DRF's Formulator is by far the best product. We're going to go through a few quick examples, but I want to run through just a quick laundry list of why DRF's Formulator is better. First of all, it's online. It gives you all of the lifetime races. It gives you all the trainer patterns. You've got to discern them for yourselves and put in little factors, and we're going to show you how to do that real quick. You can search for hidden clash. You can look then at the opponents of who a horse has raced against, how they've done since then. So you can have an idea of what the class is for your horse. You've got lifetime workouts, not just the last 3, 6, or whatever the form decides to print on a given day. All the times are in the hundredths, not the fifths, which is a lot more accurate. The DRF does it in the fifths, even though there's 6 lengths, or actually a little bit more than 6 lengths, in every second. So mathematically, they're already off to begin with when they do the paper version. But when you get the computer version, the Formulator, you get the exact times, and that makes a great deal of difference when you're trying to do mathematical computations as we do in our book. You can merge the workouts with the races, so you can see the type of workouts that are being done before a horse goes into a race, whether they're off a layoff, whether they've been racing for a while. You can get an idea of how the trainer thinks about a horse. You can pull up race charts and videos. You can actually look at the chart from the previous race, see everybody else that was in the race, see how the race was actually run, and then you can click on the video and watch that as well. And last but not least is you can see how the horses in your race, again, have done since the last time that the two horses raced together. If there's two that are now maybe racing against each other, you can get a really good idea of the true class level. But let's look at some examples. Once you get a Formulator subscription, you'll be asked to choose what racetrack you want and what day you also want to pull up the races. So I just pulled up a recent day at Aqueduct, and it pulls up, and this is the very first screen that you'll see. You'll see it's listed by race. You'll click on whatever race you want to see. If it's just the turf races, they are in green. If it's the dirt races, then they'll just be in the gray. But in any event, this is a list of the races that shows the conditions of the race, the distance, the normal pars for the race, and things like that too. But this is the very first screen that you'll see when you get to Formulator and you pick a race day that you want for a given track. This is a really good example of what you'll see when you actually click on one of the races and then look at one of the horses. This is a horse that's Miguel Clement's horse. It's a good turf race horse. There's been a lot of stakes races this year. But what it does show is that it's obviously got the day of the race, the normal line like you're used to. But this is what happens when you're able to merge in the workouts. So you can get an idea of a horse's workouts before the race. If there's been a layoff, there hasn't been for this one. But this shows you everything. At the far right, you will see the mention at the very far right of any of the race lines in the blue type. You would click on that if you wanted to watch the video, for instance, of the race. At the far left, on the date and where it lists what track they last ran at and the various races that they have here in the form, you would click on that in order to see the race chart. So let's go ahead and look at that too. This is exactly what you'd see if you clicked on the left side of the form for that horse. And this would be its last race. It would show all the horses that were in the race, how the race was won. Unfortunately, the camera is covering up some of that, but now I'm uncovering it so that you can see it. It's the normal race chart as you would see in Equibase or in the daily racing forum, however you get your race results. But it's basically the same thing as before, but you've got the great thing that I'm going to point out and give you the example of next is called this next race. You'll see it, it's not in the dark blue at the far left in the middle, but it's the second click in. That's what you're going to want to look at when you talk about hidden class, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So when you click the next race, this is what comes up if you click the next race for all of the horses in that race that we were just looking at. You'll see that It lists the time, the date of the next race, the class level, and then I'm going to pull the camera out of the way so you can see how it finished and whether it was on dirt or turf, who the rider was, what the odds were. So all of a sudden you've got a really quick idea of knowing that when you're looking at a horse and you click next race, you know what all of his opponents or her opponents have done in their next race. And that's really important from a class perspective. It happens a lot more even at the maiden level than this is from a stakes race, which is also helpful. But maidens and stakes races are probably the 2 times when you're going to use it the most, because a lot of times you'll see your horse run third or fourth or something along with a particular horse, but maybe a horse that it ran very even with will all of a sudden jump up and win a grade 1 or something at a higher class level than what they ran in this previous race. Or the maiden, sometimes, a lot of times you'll see the horse that won a maiden race jumps up and wins an allowance race. So it's just a great way of finding out some of the hidden class by looking at the next race for the horses. What I've got now up on the screen is a good example of a horse that ran with the horse that we're looking at here today, but it just shows that its progression of races both before the given race where they race together as well as what they've done since then. So you can have a much better idea. Maybe you thought that this horse coming out of this race that's not in today's race but would be a good comparator had jumped up but maybe not run very well. Maybe you pull this up and you see that maybe it was an off track. Maybe he had really bad trouble. But it gives you a context then for the previous screen that we saw that talked about the class level and how they finished. Now you actually get a good example of looking at that horse's form to know exactly what happened in the race. And you can either make it better, make it worse, but you can somehow use it to evaluate your horse today. So these are all the really good examples of what you can use the Formulator for. I don't work for the Daily Racing Form. I don't get a free form. I got to pay for it like everybody else. You can also join in with some friends and buy maybe an annual subscription. That's by far the best way to handle it. You can look at then every track, every race. You know, maybe you just want to pull it up on one day for one race and that's all you want to see in a given day. As part of an annual subscription, you can do that. You don't have to buy a whole form for 15 or 20 bucks or whatever they're charging these days. But Formulator is by far the best product out there, and if anybody wants more of a demonstration of what I've put in here, please email me and let me know.